Hello there. Another one of the ChatGPT explorations. Today it is just to test it out with an AWS CloudFormation template YAML. First, the chat history was cleared and a new chat was initiated. Then the context was set using a prompt. Would like to deploy a nodejs function on AWS Lambda and expose it with API gateway, protecting the same with API key. The response was step-by-step instructions to do the above task. To deploy a node.js function on AWS Lambda and expose it with API gateway protected by an API key, you'll need to follow these steps. Create the Lambda function, go to the AWS Management Console and navigate to the Lambda service. Click on Create Function. Choose Author from scratch. Enter a name for your function, choose node.js as the runtime, and click Create Function. Write or upload your node.js function code. Set up API gateway. While in the Lambda function, click on Add Trigger. Select API gateway as the trigger type. Choose Create a new API and enter a name for your API. Click Add. Create an API key. Go to the API gateway service from the AWS Management Console. Navigate to the API key section. Click on Create API Key. Enter a name for your API key and select the option Auto-Generate. Enable API key usage. In the API Gateway console, go to the API that you've created. Click on API keys in the left menu. Select the API key you created and click on Enable. Choose the stage where you want to use this API key. Deploy API. In the API Gateway console, go to the API you've created. Select Stages from the left menu. Select the stage you want to deploy and click on Deploy API. Note down the endpoint URL generated after deployment. Integrate Lambda function with API Gateway. In the API Gateway console, select the API you created. Click on Resources, then on the Action drop-down, select Create Method. Choose the HTTP method you want to use, for example, POST, GET. Select Lambda function as the integration type. Choose the Lambda region and enter the Lambda function name. Click Save. Deploy API changes. In the API Gateway console, select Deploy API from the Actions drop-down. Choose the stage to deploy and click Deploy. Secure API with API key. In the API Gateway console, select the API you created. Click on API keys in the left menu. Select the API key you created earlier. Go to the API key section and click on Add API key to Usage Plan. Create a usage plan if you haven't already and add the API key to it. Test your API. Use tools like curl, Postman, or any HTTP client to make a request to the API endpoint. Include the API key in the request headers. As per ChatGPT. By following these steps, you'll have deployed your node.js function on AWS Lambda and exposed it through API Gateway, protected by an API key. But I am not sure if this will work as it is not yet tested. That part I will keep aside for another video. In the same session I prompted with, can we create a draft CloudFormation template that I can edit as and when required? The YAML template was generated. We'll come up with a new video to explain and test run this template. Thank you for watching. Please promote by interacting with the video. Like, share, subscribe. Comment, good or bad. Suggestions to make this better are welcome. Please find me on Google by scanning the QR code.